I think I did. Yeah, it looks like it's moving here. So we should be good. Like the little green thing's going. And then speaker is the one. You know?
Don't be the recording.
Yeah, well, it's going. The speaker, I just heard it, so we're good. Yeah, we're good. All good.
Feel free to stop that and start a new recording.
No. We'll save that in there.
Thanks for that.
Yep.
There we go. There's our quorum. Oh, that clock's a little off center. It's bugging me.
Was not centered on the wall, but then there was a mirror sort of over the bed, and it wasn't centered over the bed, it was centered over the wall. It's like, what?
someone moved it? Like,
No,
who's
no,
staying
no.
there?
Well,
No, it just was off
No,
center.
it's just off center.
That would bother me too.
And that'll,
Especially if there's not something off center.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if you off center something, you need something
Yeah.
to give you a reason for that off center.
and then your dreams will be all screwed up.
Yeah, were they?
You wake up
Were
with
they off?
heightened anxiety.
Yeah,
Oh, I
but it's
had,
supposedly a haunted hotel too. So, but it's
Oh.
no ghosts.
That makes like slightly more sense, but at the same
Yeah.
time, still it's a bit too off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe that's why they wanted to do it, making people off, yeah. Filtered a bit.
How is everybody this evening? It's
Probably.
gonna, we're got an extra hour of daylight on the evening side. Gonna be slipping into some more warm weather. Gotta make sure we have the right combination for the syrup, for the maple syrup guys, so
Almost got liquid gold.
warm and cool this weekend. It's gonna be too hot.
Mhm.
It's gonna be too hot for production, but anyway, I think we're ready to start our meeting unless somebody would like to hold off. The others on our committee are not gonna be here. They have reasons which they have shared, so this is it for our committee. Ryan is with us online. And I don't know if there are others who will join us, but they know the drill if they want to. So are we ready to go? Okay. All right. By the way, Lori, I saw your mug. You went to congratulate the vice president on his skiing holiday.
I did,
Yeah,
I did. We were inviting him to Vermont.
yes, okay. All right, well, I felt, I almost got in the car and went myself, really. I was glad to see such a good turnout
It was a remarkable showing.
to greet him.
The energy in Waitsfield was. Most I've seen a group like that in a long time.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
All right, well,
Just, I can barely hear anyone except for Mike right
Maybe
Oh,
it
it's
might
because
be
it's right there,
this thing.
maybe in the middle.
Can you put that over
pass
by
that
Robbie?
down. Yeah.
Now I
can't hear anybody.
Hear our feet.
Use our hands. We're gonna put him on the handstand for the receiving the kickoff. The other team's gonna try to get an onside kick. We're gonna have Robbie on the handstand. Okay,
Still asleep.
all right, so I'm calling the meeting to order. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Comments from the public. I know, Ryan, you're gonna have a few in the course of the meeting. Are there any you want to introduce at the beginning of the meeting?
now. I'm all set for right now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have another beautiful set of meeting minutes that were provided to us. How do people feel about those minutes? Are we prepared to accept them?
Make a motion to accept those.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Right.
There we go.
Aye.
Okay, so, all right, we're moving ahead here. We're gonna step right into the director's report. If you're prepared, Adam.
Sure. Go through a couple things to highlight. You realize we had our community dinner, we partnered with the library on that a couple weeks ago. Had 114 total people downstairs in the senior center for that meal. Last week and the week before, we did some school break programming. It was the first time we tried that. That worked out well. So we're gonna keep rolling with that. We did some stuff at the U-Mall, some stuff outside, and then other things we actually did in the library. for space there, so we're planning some more events in late April, as well as early April. There's 2 separate school breaks, so we're gonna be doing stuff during those. Current youth programming out there, we just started up a field hockey clinic last week. Soccer started up on Wednesday of last week and today. There's 2 different kind of sessions. Those are going. And we have registrations open for baseball, lacrosse, pickleball clinic, girls lacrosse, track and field, and then Dungeons and Dragons. One thing that I'd like to mention, I think I talked about it in one of these meetings before, kind of one of my goals was to make youth programming free. So we're able to start, we're gonna start it this summer, like our types and kinder pro track is gonna be at no cost. So basically at kindergarten and preschoolers. And then we're gonna keep that rolling with all of our like starting programs. So track, types, soccer, basketball, lacrosse, and baseball. We're at a point revenue-wise where we're comfortable doing that.
And is that because you're having sponsorship?
I mean, large part of it, yeah. I mean, we're able to move like event money at this point to help cover the cost of that. And then that, like I said, will eliminate anyone who wants to start sports fees associated with it. Adult side of things, we have our drop-in sports kind of slowly wrapping up here. French classes are currently going AARP, tax services are going downstairs. Photography class just finished up. Upcoming events, the normal, we have our skate night at the end of the month. We have a cornhole tournament coming up. New programs we rolled out like maybe the day after our meeting in February. We rolled out the JC Garden raised garden bed. So when I wrote this, we were at 39 people who had signed up to enter that lottery for 20 spots. New sponsorships, we got 802 Credit Union in since the last meeting. Waiting back, I think, should get M&T Bank in, as well as Mascoma Bank in the next couple weeks. And then the staff has kind of done a big push on adult programming. So we're in the kind of final steps to line out a like brewery beer making class with Queen City Brewery, a jewelry making class. We've finalized a snorkeling diving class, which we'll roll out in the summer. We're going to be doing a Shelburne Vineyard like wine tasting tour, and we're hoping to do a murder mystery in the summer, which I think will be kind of cool as well. Summer camps, we have expanded our summer camps from last year. That's about it.
Do the new programs cost at all?
The like the one like
Behind
the-
the design, Daisy does our,
Yep, those two.
those costs.
Yep, those are like more adult
Yeah,
programs, so we're
yeah,
rolling that also.
Yeah.
Yep.
And membership wise, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And are the 2 buildings enough, the U Mall and this building?
Yeah, I mean, we still do we use the schools for like soccer. So like right now, soccer's going on at Tuttle, it just started. The field hockey clinic, we use Marcotte. And then we actually, since the last meeting, the U Mall is letting us use another space in there, the space right next to it, which is a little bit smaller, has a hard floor, so you can do some different things in there. And then they're letting us also keep stuff in there. So we don't have to constantly-
Oh, so you don't have to haul it
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah,
How much does it cost for U Mall rental?
0. They let us use it, yeah.
Oh,
So right now,
fabulous.
we have a really good deal,
Oh, that's a really good relationship.
but yeah, it could change.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're rolling in that new space. We're gonna do a bocce league, which is starting up in April. So basically, we're just gonna leave everything in there.
What's been your range of attendance participation with all the new programming?
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, it's across the board. It also is based off of what the instructor is like comfortable doing. So a lot of the like adult classes, I mean, they aren't huge. They're like 6 to 10 people,
right.
just based off of like what the instructor wants to do.
Gotcha.
Field hockey clinic, we sold that out. That was, again, they were comfortable doing a 12-person clinic. So it really varies. I think the brewery class is going to be around 20, but like the diving is probably only going to be able to be a handful of people. We've only, as far, I guess, kind of on demand side of things, there's only been a few programs that we haven't like ran per se.
Okay.
And those I could have probably told you they weren't going to run based off of the topic list.
How did you come up with the topics of those? Or is it just?
I mean, I kind of let the team like come up with what they want to do.
Impressive, always impressive.
Mhm,
Very
absolutely.
impressive.
One thing that's a little bit, like once a month, I'll come in and go create the agenda for the meeting, and Adam and I were brainstorming, and I was looking at the new stuff that was being introduced, and, I asked him, I said, so, every event, everything that you do, you need this, you need that, to support it. Go to the store and get some of these, get those, some things maybe just a couple, but sometimes other things, maybe a bunch of stuff. So there's a lot more that goes into doing simple programming than just kind of putting it on a piece of paper and inviting people to come over to see it. There's a lot of shopping and organizational stuff that needs to be done. And these guys are getting it all done, so
Impressive.
it is impressive. Yeah. Yes. Anything more on the director's report? Okay, well done. Again, Adam, thank you very much for that. Got Master Plan Advisory Group. Do you want to jump slide Illuminate up? Do you think we're going to spend a while on Master Plan Advisory?
I mean, that's probably going to be the majority of the
Yeah, so
meeting.
why don't we get whatever it is that
Sure.
we can, and
Yeah.
do you have to leave at 6
I have to leave at 6 to go next door
for the
to the NRCC.
the NRCC?
I'm gonna be sort of back and forth.
Well, we should all be in a room together.
Yeah.
But why don't we run with these other things and get them
That's
over with?
Illuminate. So Illuminate this year, I think I might have talked to you guys about it last meeting. It's April 25th and 26th. The setup is going to be the same as far as shutting down the streets and then opening it back up. A couple of changes as far as what we're doing for entertainment wise in the auditorium. We're gonna have a ventriloquist in there on Friday, and then a caricature artist in there. After that, on Saturday, we're gonna be doing like Vermont film screening, like 30-minute films with the director in there and then caricature afterwards. I guess the one thing that I kind of wanted to mention on this one, it kind of blends into bullet point 6, is we're gonna need some help volunteering on both Friday and Saturday. So as we get closer, I'll be reaching out to this group off of that. But we have all the musicians lined up minus one. We're waiting on in the library. Something had to happen there. All the food vendors are back in. The craft and art vendors have started rolling in from last year, so it should be pretty kind of drop in place based off of last year's template.
What were the dates gonna have?
April 25th and 26th. Is that Friday? Saturday, the event itself will be 5 to 9. And we'll usually be looking for volunteer help from like 2 o'clock until about 11 o'clock in different like shifts.
And you looking for any volunteers or just
Yeah.
this committee or?
We'll be looking for, a bunch of different volunteers from,
Let's see if we can get some counselors.
yeah, I mean, from setup, welcome entrances, vendor help during the event, breakdown, like ballet, like everything. I have an entire list. that I'll send
That's
out.
the 26th.
Solicit the high school for community service.
27th,
Yeah, that Friday, Saturday.
So you said about 2 to 11, is that 2 to 11 both days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the way that we did it last year is like we broke out the volunteer shifts into, I think it was like 2.5 hour or 3 hour windows. That seemed to work out pretty well.
You put that need out on First Front.
Yeah, I'm going to. We're waiting. We have like a website that we kind of use for it. We're waiting a month before the event to like turn that back on, and then we're gonna send it out.
Is the Grippo Funk Band gonna be there? I know they were there one
No,
year.
so the musicians are the main stage. It's Ultraviolet, who played at SB Night Out last year. They're doing the entire Friday night from 5 to 9. And then Saturday it's Judy Emanuel and Jenny Johnson. And then outside the library on Friday night, we have it's like a one-man band who like plays the drums, harmonica, and like the cymbals like all at once, which is kind of cool.
What day is that? Saturday?
That's on Friday.
Friday.
Then we have a like circus magician guy gonna be playing on Friday down here for like 45 minutes at the end. On Saturday, we have a Ram, who was our guitar instructor, and a 14-year-old like girl who's played at Higher Ground. We're gonna play outside. And then we have Cirque du Fuego coming back with the fire show on Saturday night down here. The library, I think, is all the same performers from last year.
Anything else? Folks? So that was Illuminate Vermont.
Yeah.
Is it also
I
Spring
mean, kind
Lawn?
of, yeah, so we're gonna have a bunch of events coming up that we're gonna need some bodies for. The egg hunt is April 19th. That'll be right outside here. That will be an event that we have, and then also before we know it, SB Night Out will be coming, and we'll be looking for bike ballet volunteers, and we also this year are going to have like a designated kids zone area. So we have purchased now 2 inflatables. We have a bounce house and a speed pitch. We're gonna have face painting at all of the SB Night Outs, as well as the mini golf and the yard games, but we're gonna have like a designated area for it. So we're gonna be needing volunteers to help kind of oversee-ish that area.
There's gonna be a diaper station too.
Yeah.
Volunteers
Yeah,
to
I like-
change diapers.
Good. Are you volunteering?
No, thank
What,
you.
what were some of the other events? Like SB Night Out?
SB Night Out
I'm
and
done.
the egg hunt
Yeah.
is a big
Unless
one.
they're my
The community
grandkids.
dinners would be another one where we could help. We could use some help with the serving.
Okay.
Okay. So, looks like we've gotten through the agenda with the exception of 7. But I think that we can move into the master plan advisory group update. Will you initially be running with that too? Ryan, did you have something? No? Okay, I thought I heard something. Okay, so Adam, will you kind of take us into that, at least initially?
Sure. So the advisory group met last Monday.
Was last week out.
Yeah, I think it was last Monday or last Tuesday, for the initial, kind of meeting, amongst them. So it was, Lori, Alistair, Silken, Kelsey from planning and zoning, the two CRO reps, there was also the art committee, point person was there, and the NRCC, point person, was there. Our adaptive contact wasn't able to make it, as well as the school district. But basically, we had our kind of initial general, conversation to start laying out the goals, objectives of the advisory group, as well as a look at building out our, like, public engagement elements, both the open, forums, I guess you want to call them, utilizing the SBRP events, and then also building out the survey, which we should discuss here, in this meeting. We have our next, advisory group meeting actually tomorrow at 5:30, which at that point, we should then be able to kind of pinpoint the first open house, public engagement, which I believe, based off of conversations from the advisory group, and some windows that we were throwing out. Last week, we were looking at that first week of April, as some of the timing for the first public, open house. As far as the engagement avenues, there's the open house, and then there's like a follow-up to the open house. There's two of those. There's the online survey, which we can discuss here in a minute. Site visits, city hosted events. So I basically sent them, I don't know, like 10 or so, rec events that would be good to have master plan materials at, as well as rec programming, to have at it. We also discussed having, signage or display information at both the senior center entrance or the back entrance to the building, as well as right outside front here, for anyone coming into the clerk's office and, the library. And then what I can do, so I printed off the survey for you guys. I will share my screen since I didn't have it in time to add to the agenda. So everyone online can see it as well. So on Friday, we got the advisory group, Thursday or Friday, got this, kind of service. This would be the, like, online survey, that we'd be looking at rolling out. So it was sent out to the advisory group for basically, kind of notes and feedback. Ryan and Bob, can you see my screen?
You guys there?
Yeah, here, but let's see.
Okay,
So
Steve.
what am I'm looking at Rec and Parks MP and Open Space MP.
Yep.
Okay. We-
And so what I'd like to do, I sent a bunch of feedback, on this survey, but kind of what Alistair and I were also thinking is it would be nice to kind of walk through this survey, get your thoughts, feedback, that I can bring it. I've already sent some for the meeting tomorrow, but if you guys have any, suggestions, I can also kind of relay that info over to them. The other thing that I wanted to talk about on the master plan was, with regards to the open house, like, events, it would be nice to brainstorm organizations or, within the area that we can, like, I'm gonna be sending out emails through SBP or SBRP lists that's gonna be in City News, Front Porch Forum. But if there's organizations that like we can proactively invite out. So South Burlington, Little League, I've talked to them multiple times about it. Obviously, there's the youth lacrosse organizations, soccer, Far Post, Nordic, Queen City, the schools. I'll include it in like my blast that goes out to the schools. CHT, I'll reach out to them. Special Olympics, I'll reach out to them. Seniors, and I will have information downstairs. Obviously, like the pump track guys as a group that I would think to invite out. I've also gotten a bunch of stuff about disc.
The Fellowship of the Wheel.
Fellowship of the Wheel. The gardeners over at Wheeler and people who have signed up at JC. The adult pickleball, like group, both the pro and the against. But I wasn't sure if you guys had other groups that you think.
So when you have events, are you handing out?
So, yeah, so
Info.
we'll have info, we'll actually have like a display setup. It won't be something where there's gonna be able to have someone like there
Handing it out.
answering questions, but it'll have information which people are able to interact with, and then also QR codes for like the online survey. I'm thinking more of like the open house element to get the most amount of people who aren't on, are just general.
What about public schools?
Yep, so I have,
Okay.
I have that, I send out kind of a weekly email
Okay.
to them.
Also encourage members of this community to show up for those meetings as much as they
Yeah.
can. Not just to have input, but also be, to listen and but also talk to residents who have interest and you can bring stuff back to this meeting.
My big question or concern, this is like impossible, it's not impossible, but how do we get the people who don't typically show up to meetings?
Mhm.
That was a
And
big conversation at our meeting. We're talking about where the meetings are and how to do that. There is a diversity and equity toolkit that's been put together by the city, which they're gonna be using, and they're still trying to figure, I mean, a lot of the stuff that Adam was just talking about is unusual for these kinds of programs in terms of exposure. So they're working on that. And if you have any other good ideas,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
challenging.
It is.
I gotta
I know it
scoot.
is. Yeah.
so. Look forward to
Okay.
it.
Thank you, Lori.
Keep the needle in that room right in the center, okay?
The needle?
Yeah, the needle.
Yeah, well, I was
I
gonna
know
open this door and that door.
The needle in here, we're very centered group here.
I just say that we can have both doors open.
We're right
Just have a
in the-
joint meeting.
Yeah. I
Thank
mean,
you.
we-
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Like what Lori was mentioning, a lot of that advisory group was kind of on that. I mean, the challenging thing is we were looking at like where to do the events or the open house forum. Some people aren't like comfortable coming to City Hall for stuff. At the same time, it's kind of the like central location of doing things. We were talking heavy about like engaging young adults who never like participate too much really in this type of stuff. But at the same time, I think some of that will be answered in the avenues that we're reaching out to people. I don't think, as far as coming to the open house, are we gonna get everyone there that we want to? I mean,
First time.
No, but at the same time, like, if we miss young adults at the open house, they're gonna be the ones who are doing the online survey more likely. And so that was a big part of it, was we were bouncing ideas on how to get 20 to 35-year-olds there. And then we kind of said, hey, we can do everything we can to get those people there, what's gonna happen is all of a sudden now it's not gonna be like easy for the people who always come to these meetings to get there, and we still might not get the 20 to 35 girls. So let's like focus on the survey for them and try and invite out as many people as we can.
Do you have budget for focus groups?
What do you mean?
So in addition to follow up with an open house or a survey in order to capture a portion of the population that might not have been captured, is there like just get like a sample size in a room and just talk to those people? I've done this with projects for to like get like seniors because
Mhm.
there isn't enough senior representation just because they are not able to come into the room at like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Or like with surveys too, just because it's an online platform. There are sometimes language barriers too.
Yeah.
So in the past, for some projects, I've reached out to AALV and said
Yes,
like,
that-
hey, could we get like like a representation on this
interpreter, yep.
or something like that? With AALV, it's also so like a focus group could also help
Mhm.
with that, just to make sure that you're getting enough representation with and then also if you have like an abridged version of the survey, just because there are 48 questions here,
Mhm.
just to
So-
pinpoint like
Yep.
certain
So-
questions.
So a
that'll
couple
help
of
too.
those things, the AALP did talk about the language barriers, and I sent them their contact info.
Mhm.
We did discuss that. And we'll do it. The survey, when we go through it, one of the big things was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So the way they built it, obviously in the printouts, you can't really tell. But there's a lot of questions that the way you answer it will like skip. So you won't even see a bunch of them if you say no to something.
Yeah.
It'll like bypass a bunch of questions for you. But there was now something. When we did the active transportation plan, public forums, we had AALD interpreters who were there. It's challenging, and probably this makes sense with the focus group. The like venue, the setup for most of these are difficult
Yeah.
for like interpretation.
Yeah, yeah. In Winooski, for a lot of the recent projects, we just had just focus groups for
Mhm.
particular language
Mhm.
groups,
That's a good.
just to have that
Yeah.
insider group. So there's a
Yeah.
level of comfort, level of familiarity, and then you have the interpreter. So it's a lot more
Yeah.
focused, and you can get that communication happening
'Cause
compared
we-
to like an open house where
Yeah,
it's
we
kind of
had-
scattershot.
We had the open house actually in the senior center for that, and we had multiple different interpreters. And it didn't work,
Yeah,
but the focus group, I like that.
yeah, it's a bit more legwork, but if you're not able to capture what
Mhm.
what you're trying to get at, then that's one way that I've been
Mhm.
able to try to at least piece it all together.
Have you, so like on that, so this was the other thing that kind of came up when we were looking at where to do these engagements. So like first generation Americans, a lot of times, what I've been told and what they were talking about in the advisory group is they don't always want to come to government buildings. So like when you've had these focus groups, like where were you doing them?
In Winooski, at the O'Brien Center, that one.
It's like a community.
Yeah, it's a
center.
community center, so it's a place and space that new Americans are familiar with,
Mhm.
that they go to,
Mhm.
and it's a more of a neutral space compared to coming
Like
to City
government
Hall.
buildings, yeah.
And then in Burlington, in general, with meetings, we just do it in a localized area. So that way it's more neutral, but it's also a place that someone could walk to within 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And that would be, that's in our policy for traffic calming and for communication and outreach too, is just try to pick and choose locations that
Mhm.
people can walk to within a 10-minute walk. That is neutral.
What would be like an example of that? Like a
So for
Like a
one,
cafe or like?
no, so like for one project, we did it, it was focused in the Old North End, so we had it at the One Center.
Okay,
So that one, it's still got like, it's still Parks and Rec and Waterfront owned, but it's
Yeah.
more neutral, it's a
Okay.
common
Mhm.
meeting space, and it's within a 10-minute walk
okay.
of the project location.
Gotcha.
Could we do U-Mall? The Muse Mall is easy parking at least.
Yeah, I mean, the U-Haul did get discussed. There was something about it that we decided not to. We also were discussing a little bit on the open houses, the schools. But then we changed it to City Hall because Sierra wanted, like, at one point in the initial conversations, we were talking about, hey, could you an open house? Chamberlain, Marcotte,
Mhm.
Orchard. And they wanted to stick to the same location. So that like the initial open house and then the follow-up open house where you're like displaying everything is the same. But if we do these focus groups, I think the schools might be the
Yeah,
avenue to go there. You're kind of in each
if you,
quadrant of
yeah.
the city.
yeah, if you know of common places where the population that you're trying to
Mhm.
congregate, that they acknowledge as a safe space, that also helps too. So like,
Mhm.
and then in the old North End too, North End Studios is also similar to the O'Brien Center in Winooski, that it's a place that's commonly understood as a safe space.
Mhm.
So having a focus group there or having a meeting there puts everyone at neutral and on neutral ground. So so like the schools are great, but if there's even
Sure.
like something even more neutral
Yeah.
that other community members are aware of, that could also go a long way too.
So even though it's in the same building, the library is more universally viewed as a neutral space than City Hall. Like,
Mhm.
if you can just like slide over and have it in the library side.
I mean, the other nice part about doing something here is like we do have multiple spaces. So that way we can do stuff for kids in the senior center. And then whether it's the auditorium or the library is a good idea too. It helps with obviously then families being able to get there as well.
I like the public schools too, though, because the parents are picking up their kids naturally, and if it's around that time, I like that idea, because then they don't have to go home, then come to the event. And if you have like a food ready for the kids, then you have some kind of event at the schools, the parents are already there, so they don't have to make an extra effort to get there.
What about at a park? Weather
I
dependent,
mean,
but
yeah,
I know you gotta have technology, but I know we're talking about spaces and.
yeah, I mean,
Mm.
that will kind of like fall into like the city hosted events,
Okay,
where we'll have our stuff throughout at the same time. Like these are the first open houses. We'll confirm it up tomorrow, but that first week of April. So if you do it outside,
yeah.
you can
No,
get.
I'm just saying.
Could be great. Could be bad.
Yeah,
So you gotta-
I don't know if I would be.
You got a ton of rental housing that's in the Route 7 corridor. On the south end, you've got Larkin. In the middle, you've got Larkin again with the orchards, hundreds of units. And then you go over to Farrell Street, and you've got CHTs,
Odell.
Odell, all the stuff that's going on there. It feels like Orchard would be, in terms of that corridor. And like if you're going to identify focus groups, you might want to actually invest some time and kind of figure out, okay, let's pick out a couple of focus groups where you maybe have a lot of inclusivity rather than niche stuff. But like the tenant population in that Route 7 corridor is very, very significant in those three projects. And they don't have the rec and park amenities. We know that people have been clamoring for rec and park amenities in that corridor. So that's a focus group kind of by itself where you might be able to stimulate a real good sized turnout there. Around here, you got all these tenants, but that's kind of a much different demographic where you got it's not though, a lot of those folks do get in the room when they want to.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was trying to suggest is it's the people that don't get in the room that you just
Trying to like satellite bounce around the entire
Right.
city, but rather like make it so that
that way you get a sample size. Yeah.
But one somewhere, I
Yeah.
think Orchard might be a good candidate for,
Yeah.
and to be proactive with trying to get that population to attend that meeting because they've been frustrated at not having amenities for a while. So that would politically, that would be a good thing to do.
Well, I guess so. Like kind of on that though, like the like Route 7 Shelburne Road. Would that be? I mean, are there like barriers for them
to get what to attend a meeting?
Yeah, because I mean, we're kind of like I think we're kind of having two different conversations here a little bit now.
Maybe.
Where we're trying,
Yeah, it's not,
You
it's
can't
more
go
so of like
everywhere.
people who won't attend in the
Yeah.
first place, who we know are like the known unknowns in a way, like the people that aren't captured in any sort of snapshot that but we know that they have a presence in our community and they have a voice that just can't or don't feel comfortable showing them, right? And so I guess with your events, even the open house, like how are you structuring that? Have you thought about that
Say that
yet?
again?
How are you structuring them? Have you had a lot
The
of
event side of things or the open house?
we'll start with the open house. How are you structuring that?
So the open house, and I kind of, let's see if they have it here. So they have it down, it's like a 90 to 2 hour window, and the way that they like to do it is not have it as like a not a directed conversation, but rather like organic. So that way the loudest person in the room isn't like leading the conversation. CRO describes the way that they do it better than I'm going to. But it's not something where it's like one person like leading a presentation and leading a conversation. It's more, hey, here are the display boards. You can either like write stuff up or have access to the online element to do it. So it's not someone that you have to voice your opinion in front of everyone else too, because that's going to hinder a lot of people from participating. And then you'll get just the same voices that are louder and will prevent others from growing. Ours, like the city events, so I've sent over community dinners, like the egg hunts. I mean, even the downstairs in the main lobby and by the senior center, that's more of just like a pop-up, kind of provide your feedback on this display. For our events, we're not going to be able to have like I was mentioning to Cindy, like someone delegated to this to have conversations. I mean, I'll be around.
Yeah.
But it's not someone where someone to be there, like at the master plan.
So facilitator. There's a facilitator though.
Not for our event. It's just a pop-up.
Got
like
it.
it's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just hand out sheets? I mean, or even do a QR code and just have them be able to fill out the form? I'm wondering also, I mean, can kids bring home these questionnaires? Could it, I mean, be handed out just randomly and just let the parents decide if they want to fill them out once the kids bring them home?
I mean, like if, now I mean, that would be a decision for the school, like,
Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean,
which would be
it's-
in their newsletter.
Yeah, and it's also community. I mean, it's not like a political or religious thing. I mean,
Yeah, but.
I mean, it would be different
I'm-
if it were those kind of things, but this is actually part of the community and.
I mean, I like two, but I would imagine the school, like we have like 6 different advisory groups going right now. So I'm at some point, the schools might be a little hesitant.
Oh, I see.
Just because, okay, now we're gonna reach out to them about the active transportation. Now we're gonna reach out to them about parking.
Mhm,
I mean, we're gonna send them the e-newsletter stuff, but
mhm, mhm.
It's a scale thing too, just because it's 48 questions.
Yeah.
But if there's a
QR
link,
code
if there's a
will
link in
work.
those school newsletters, a lot of the parents will go online and they'll check what's going on at the school for events and activities, and they could.
So way you could get the 21 to 35 is offer a free beer. The single, like get one of the donate a keg, one of the breweries.
Or win the brewery making thing.
Yeah,
Class.
yeah.
So,
So I guess like kind of
We'll pay
on
you.
this.
So do
I'd like
you want to go
kind
through
of
some
go
of these
through,
things?
yeah, I mean, as we go through, it, I'll kind of share what feedback I had for them. So like question 1, what city-owned parks, open spaces do you typically visit? I mean, it lists them all out. I also added to put in specifically like the dog parks, which is missing, Wheeler Dog Park. And Feral Dog Park there. The next question, what non-city owned spaces do you use on kind of the rec side of things? So they have listed out gyms, fitness centers. You can see, are there other things that you think are missing there?
And I tweak the wording of that question because they're mostly recreation assets and not parks and open spaces.
Say that again.
So it starts, it mirrors the cadence of question 1, which makes sense, but then it's also what non-city owned. They're not really part, they're recreation assets, so I might lead with recreation assets and then say, and common parks, open space, just as a.
Or even just get rid of that because none of these are. parks
Well,
open
I mean, I
spaces.
think there are like private
Yeah.
parks that will probably get added in
Oh, I see.
tomorrow,
Okay.
like O'Brien Home Park right now, like some of those, there could still be parks and open spaces that get added.
Is there a reason why Catamount pickleball was broken out?
The consultant, like kind of put these together.
Okay. Seems, yeah, I guess it's kind of its own thing. I'm not sure if it's like a gym and fitness center or something else entirely, so.
I also think of like Queen City Yoga. It's like
Right.
an auxiliary,
I
I don't know.
think.
Like yoga studios, I mean,
Yeah.
yoga studios in general.
Yeah, I don't know. Another very popular. Climbing centers. I'm just thinking of popular winter sports that people.
But is there a climbing center in South Burlington?
Yeah.
No.
A bowling alley and stuff.
No, but I would say the population goes and frequents those centers, but
With Karen's,
What's that?
Karen's ice skating?
that's
'Cause it is, it's not
I
just,
mean, it's technically.
city owned.
is it technically? I mean, I thought they just have a tax advantage, but.
The city has a lease.
Yeah.
They lease the Cairns facility,
They lease it,
they lease it.
so they don't own it.
We own it.
Do they own the skating?
They lease it from us.
The city owns.
We're, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
But
just
it's a
going through this
facility
right now.
that should probably be, it should be listed somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I didn't notice if it was in here, but are you gonna invite the Edge to participate? Because they're a significant recreational, private sector. I'm just throwing that as a question. It's not a recommendation, but back when, quite a while ago, they were trying to see whether they could do an indoor facility. It was the first time they had done it. And there was a lot of noise around whether the city should be doing it. And the Edge was advocating for the city not to compete. We know there's lots of things the city can do that are not competitive, but what are the thoughts on inviting the private sector to participate? Are there any? Yes or no?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
I think personally, yes. I mean, we can't do anything in the public field without the private sector. We need the private sector, so I would say yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's a constituency, like.
It's a public process
And
too.
others
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah.
Or what, yeah.
Question 3, we don't have to really talk about. 4 we down.
We have 2
Threes,
3s.
I know, it's pretty draft, so don't worry. The number 4, how would you rate the quality of conditions? You listened in there, I had them add in again, the dog park, let me pull up my phone there.
Can I, the second 3, I like that question, but I almost feel like there's a value in asking first the broad question, then another question related to just parks and recreation, because that includes open spaces, trails, like that's a really broad aperture that gets at both. And should we also kind of try to separate out and see like, oh, well, 97% said they use these facilities, but only 43% said that they use the parks and recreation facilities specifically.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
so which assets are parks and which assets are open spaces?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other
Well,
giant
elements.
conversation in the advisory group was that element. Because there's a blend.
Should Eau be in the list of parks, although it's, it's that big piece of land that's in the,
Number 1 group.
4,
well, that would be four. So we've got through K of our parks. I know we don't have every separate little small pocket park in the city, but Eau Claire is a big piece of property. It's not technically owned by the city. There was an agreement, though, that the city would use it as an open space park when the Eau Claire property, there was this partnership with Dirt Capital and Vermont Trust.
Well, I guess,
There are no
like, as far as
improvements there,
asking,
though.
yeah, well.
So nobody visits it.
Well,
So
yeah.
nobody visits it because it's nothing, but it's a big piece of land in our system.
Mhm.
So I don't know where that should find its place.
Mhm.
You just put the name down with a question mark next to it.
and also when you're asking that question, how would you rate the quality and conditions of facilities? Well, what if they don't use the facilities? So I think the question needs to be, prior to asking the question, is what of these, so maybe like a, a number before 4, what of these do you use? And then how would you rate the quality of them? Because the problem is when you have someone who is randomly answering questions, if you just ask that question, they might just say how they would rate it, but they're not using it. They have no clue what they know about these parks. So I think that before you ask that question.
I mean, I don't know if that would, like, I guess you could cross-reference. People are still gonna answer for the same.
You could add a column that says, which of these have you used in the past 12 months?
Or 1 through 5, how often have you used them? 1 through 5, 5 through 10? More
Yeah,
than-
but does that really, I guess, whether I use them or not, like, if it's still a poor condition, like, I can answer.
Yeah,
Or I
because
could-
that could be a reason for
That could be
why.
not used or not. So
we're
if
not
I
using
only said
it.
it once,
Yeah.
then we'd be like kind of negating your answer, even though it's like, yeah, I only did it once.
And I thought it was
That's
a
not
ton, so I
much,
had
but
to
it
go
was
back.
very poor.
Yeah.
I guess to fix that, you just put an NA option,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, then, yeah, thank you.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's.
Don't use parks and not applicable, don't know about them.
Where do you want us to be right now, Adam?
Number 5, so let me pull up my notes. So with respect to how well we were meeting our needs, so I had them add in, we'll see what they think off of this one or what the group thinks off of it. But I had them add in indoor facilities, because I think even though we like don't
Totally agree.
have it, so it doesn't meet the needs.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's not on there because we don't have it, but I think us not having it is showing that it's not meeting the needs. So all these, and then I had include indoor facilities, which we could incorporate, that being senior center.
So what about a need being met, need not being met?
Yeah, I mean, it would be another bullet point on here, you would just put on the matrix table, it does not meet needs, but right now you wouldn't know it doesn't meet needs because it's not even an option.
There was, unrelated, one of the things as I scanned through it, I wondered if it made sense to ask a very specific question of, do you believe South Burlington should have an indoor recreation, a dedicated indoor recreation facility? That, it at least gives some kind of intent. People say like, well, 47% said no. I bet it would be very high, I bet 80%, 90%.
Well, yeah, it would be, that's like asking the question, do you feel that we should preserve more open space? So you know how people are going to respond to that question. Sure. Yeah, I think always use more. So, but you get a high. If we
Yeah.
want to build a
Yeah, you're right.
foundation for trying to get the indoor facility back on track.
But question 17, do you feel like there's a need to preserve more open
I
space?
know, I made note of that.
So if there's gonna be that one,
Yeah.
that was part of what prompted
Yeah.
my thinking.
Mhm.
So it's we either include both or exclude both.
Yeah,
You might also want to think about where you're placing those questions, just make sure that they're not framing
Yeah.
people's answers.
These guys have done enough surveys, I don't know if they've got a quality control, when they do surveys, they probably have to do a lot of them.
Mhm.
And whether, a little buzzer goes off when their questions are starting to lead the response, but you'd think that
they
they.
did talk about that.
Mhm.
Number 6, list of rec facilities, amenities that could be added to South Burlington Parks, so obviously they have a bunch there. I also told them disc golf, as well as like an adaptive accessible playground, were two that I mentioned to include in the future.
Exercise stations, anywhere, or
Fitness
something
trail.
like it.
Yeah.
Exercise stations,
That's fitness trail.
Yeah.
fitness trail, okay, right, it's there.
The one thing that I thought when I looked at this is a long list.
Mhm.
And it's exhaustive.
This is on number 6, you're saying?
On number 6,
Mhm.
are there ways to potentially have some groupings of questions that are sort of thematically put together? Because I can, when I see things like this, you'll go like, oh, yes, 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 yes. Or after a while, you'll start to say like, geez, I'm saying yes to a ton of things.
Mhm.
And if you look at sort of,
I don't know if like, because I kind of, when you get down into like rec programs and events, I did kind of exactly that, and just start fleshing them up. I don't know if they would be like hesitant if you bunched up some of these, then you're not able to tell like what specifically. Like if you,
well,
like if you did the indoor rec center, gym, swimming pool, and people just check that, you wouldn't. If that makes sense.
more of like a graphic design kind of thing. So in essence, you have like outdoor facilities, pump track, fitness
Gotcha.
trail,
Yeah,
da, 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 and
yeah,
it still
yeah,
has
yeah.
all of the things,
Yeah,
but it's,
but it's like in the form.
yeah, and you can see
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not interested in an indoor
Sure.
facility,
Yep, yep.
and I'll skip it, or I'll go, say yes more to
Yeah,
the-
that makes sense.
Don't we already have a sense of what facilities people want based on past engagement? So can we make groupings that way to see if, to get a sense of prioritization? So like, since we already kind of know that people want a pool, right? Then
I
we can
mean,
group those as like high priority and then get a better sense of prioritization that way.
maybe, I guess like where, as far as like knowing what people want right now, like where is that info coming from? Like people who are just,
Well, I
like,
guess that's
people
my
like-
question to you really
Yeah.
is, do we have we done that kind of engagement in the
not
past?
since I've
Not,
been here.
okay,
No,
yeah, even before your time.
No.
Okay, so then, yeah.
but at
And
the
you have
same, I
to,
mean, once you kind of, I guess this is just another question, that if you were like kind of blocking high engagement, would you be kind of framing your answers
Yeah.
to an extent? there?
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, it's more of a,
I mean, we always
Yeah.
like, I mean, then you would, like indoor rec, indoor pool, like we hear it all the time,
mhm,
but that's in this like echo chamber.
yeah,
the other, and this is again adding to the survey. So you have like, what do you want? Then the next question is rank order your top of all the things you said you wanted, rank order your top 3.
Or you can only pick 3,
Mhm.
there might be 10,
Yeah,
yeah,
or there might be 20, but pick 3,
yeah.
mhm,
1, 2, 3.
yeah, or just like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It would be useful to, in this type of survey, to find a way of prioritizing some things.
mhm,
And I don't think the format as it's presented
Yeah.
Does a good job of prioritizing.
And if you're gonna use this, I would create this as a graph too, like, because you say it says matrix table, not important, somewhat important, very important. If you had it as a graph, in a graph form, it would be easier for people to check off, not important, somewhat important, very important. Because I would miss that if I read this,
Oh,
I would miss that
it's just like
matrix.
it's just a framework, so they'll
Okay,
have, they'll
they
include,
will.
they'll
They
put in
will
a
create
matrix
it.
table.
Okay, they will.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's just a
Okay,
code for
okay,
them.
sorry.
It's all good. Very rough draft.
Yes.
7. Specifically pulled out farmer's market.
You pulled that out?
7 did.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Do you think we need all this, or just to say, do you want a farmer's market?
It already had it on number 6.
I think it's like if you say yes to the farmer's market
Yeah,
concept.
so then that would pop up.
Got it.
The question that I have, there's a long list of things.
Mhm.
How did farmer's market get to, like,
Mhm.
there's other things that I would probably want to probe deeper on than a farmer's market.
I
Yeah,
agree.
but none of these. I mean, based off of the questions then that the farmer's market is asking in 7, like none of these have to answer. Like what day of the week is best for it, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird.
It is kind of,
I mean, why farmer's market is there, but
Kinda
like,
weird.
if you check outdoor tennis courts, we don't need anything.
It's really an event thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't farmer's market fall under kind of an event sort of a category?
yeah.
Mhm.
And then the other part too, like, we've had a lot of conversation on the indoor rec. If somebody clicked that they wanted indoor rec, doesn't have to be what day of the week, but couldn't you, like this, if this is an adaptive survey,
Mhm.
that somebody says, yes, they want an indoor center. You know, what would you like an indoor center? What,
Can have a list of 10.
or what?
Prioritize 3.
Yeah.
If they can duplicate the formatting, or there's qualitative questions, I guess. There may be quantitative questions. People who do these surveys know how to take these things. These guys done a lot of surveys,
Mhm.
because it feels like it's a little like they sat around the table.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, I'm pro farmer's market. I don't think it's a bad thing. It just, it's like this.
Well, yeah, but it's the only thing in there that you.
That's like so specific.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the other stuff you're not. Like
Well,
breaking out
open-
when it's done. like,
open
they're all
space
physical
kinda had-
locations.
They have a lead question though. 18 is kind of another,
We're gonna get to
Okay,
it.
we'll jump ahead.
I'm pro farmer's market too, but we actually are part of the Burlington Farmers Market.
Yeah.
And I know that if you spread it out too thin, it's not good for the vendors. So like, I know Winooski already has a market, Burlington has one.
Essex has one.
Yeah, Essex has one, and the more you spread it out, the harder it is for a vendor to make money. It's
that's-
just like a craft show.
Yeah.
If you have like on the same day, a craft show happening here and here,
Mhm.
it's really very hard for the
And that would
vendor to
be
make
like-
money.
Good feedback for the open.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that-
oh yeah, I'm
like,
sorry,
Yeah, we're
I'm
not
just,
like.
I guess I'm just
Yeah.
really like thinking about the farmer's market and thinking about the vendors because they work hard.
But that's
And
a
and when it
good,
it's like,
spreads out,
can,
it's really
like-
hard.
it is a good
Farmer's
point for
market's
this
really it's
question
an
though,
event,
because
and I don't even know if it has a place in here. But if they want it in here, I think it's on a list of things. What don't we have? Here's a list of things. Check your 3 or something like that.
Mhm.
yeah, like it's just too programmatic to have those 3 questions there on preferences when there are so many other intangibles at play in order to get that opinion at this point.
Good.
And the other part, like, it's where it fits. They're putting it in facilities. And like, we're gonna buy a parcel of land to have a dedicated farmer's market, or is it just kind of like on Sundays, a portion of this place is dedicated? So it does seem like it's more programming.
you
So
guys.
what are you gonna do, exit out?
Well, I mean, it's all,
Keep it
like,
in.
it's not all just committees,
No,
like, so.
I would move
like,
it to,
what-
I would move it to programming.
Okay.
Mhm.
Next question.
Is that 9?
Yeah, often small parks and green spaces. Is there an area that does not have adequate access to public green space? We don't really have to discuss this one.
Yep, you're gonna invite the public's feedback on that, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, there's nothing that we can like change in this.
Right.
But it's just a yes or no.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Gotcha.
Number 10. Any thoughts on that question?
I think in the room, we feel you're doing a great job.
I don't think you even need it, to be honest with you.
No, you should keep
I mean, I
it.
think we should. I mean,
I
there's
think you
definitely
should
people
keep
who
it.
There
are-
may be people out there.
It
It feels like
Yeah.
it's a question for the public. I think
There's,
Indicate-
there's another question, this is getting into something about recreation events and spaces feel welcoming to me. So the question, or I'm not sure if this is really getting at the right part, but who's using and when they come up, do they feel like this is a place that I feel welcome?
Mhm.
And
And if not, how could we make it more welcome?
this isn't agree, disagree, aren't you? You're gonna have a place where you just check the box, whether you agree or disagree,
Yeah.
right?
For like number 10.
Oh, well, although number 12 kind of,
I think
Mm.
9 might capture some of that too. If
yeah.
there is an asset nearby and people say like, oh yeah, there's nothing nearby, then that's indication that the space is not working for the community.
Number 11, issues with access, parks, open space trails, crowding, parking, facilities in general, info, maintenance, accessibility, or any other avenues or areas that you think are kind of like limiting access.
I might.
I mean, you could put like access for someone. Like veterans isn't on the bus line, so you can't get to it.
Mhm.
I actually think 9 is leading, very leading, actually. Often small parks and green spaces
Mhm.
play an important role in the community. I think I would just say small parks and green spaces play a role in the community by providing play and relaxation space. And then even here is leading for those without private outdoor areas. It's leading, it's very leading. You just say play and relaxation space, and then you say, do you have an area in South Burlington that does not have adequate access to? Or are you located near an area? This whole question is very leading to me. I find that very leading.
Yeah, I think it could be just simply put as like, do you have a park or a recreational space
Within a quarter mile.
within a quarter mile, within
Yeah,
a 10-minute walk or 15-minute
Or
walk?
within walking distance.
Or even just
Yeah,
a
within
second
walking
question,
distance.
is there an area of South Burlington that does not have adequate access to nearby green space?
Or to you, do you not have adequate access to? Yeah, yeah. Everyone's
Yeah.
leading to me, that whole thing, it's very leading.
But then again, you're not getting location. Are you getting location data?
Yeah, it's like if you use location data as far
Like
as,
about you?
uh,
No.
Ravi, was your question about whether we're trying to secure location data for the respondents?
Yes.
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if we got 600 responses, 100 are here, 50 are there,
Mhm.
and you could kind of know.
Yeah.
If the response, if it was really weighted in one part of the community,
Mhm.
you might know you were missing.
Yep.
Again, some of those.
So like a which neighborhood do you live in
Yeah,
type of
at
question?
the end here.
Yeah,
Uh,
that way you
well,
can say, you can put questions more simply and then do correlations that way.
mhm.
Looking at question 11, F, I would separate that into two. Access rights as its own piece, because like accessibility is different than fencing land ownership issues. You know, if somebody's in a wheelchair, they might say like,
I don't think they're like, and. I mean, that's a
Oh,
good
I know,
point.
I see
think
what
they
you're saying.
might be, yeah, referring to just like access
yeah,
to
yeah.
the space.
Mhm.
I guess
But
there's
on the, yeah, flip side, just a general
accessibility.
accessibility.
And then with the lack of facilities, does that include ball fields? Or recreation facilities or just bathrooms, crosswalks?
Mhm. Number 12, if you do not use the parks, why not? And that lists out a handful of different things that are not aware. Not programs that I want, not timing that I want, crowded, quality, amenities, maintenance, accessibility, lack of transportation, price, hours, etc.
Do you have to have a double negative there? If you do not use South Burlington's parks, why not? Can you just say why?
Sure.
Just, I think it's, why not seems a little,
Yeah.
I know that
I mean,
seems like a
like
little
all these
thing, but
minor edits,
yeah.
I'm not gonna
Sorry.
guarantee that these are
Okay,
good
well,
and nice.
okay,
But
well,
no, I
I
mean,
feel like
yeah.
I can do some, I am an English major.
Yeah.
Or was.
And then this one is based off of this is from the question number 3, I believe. Is that like once a year? So some of these questions, not everyone's gonna get.
Right.
Number 13, so this one I have totally redone based off of kind of what you were talking about, Brett. Like this doesn't mean anything to anyone. And if I were to ask you guys what Chess Wizards is, you're not gonna have a clue. If I asked you like what Lake Adventures is, Soccer Sparks. So I kind of listed it out into subcategories. Adaptive programming, adult educational programming, And then obviously within there listed out like what some of those are. Adult sports, summer camps, senior programming, youth sports, little kid sports, kids club, and young adult group. And that kind of hits all the different like subsets, because otherwise I don't know how they're.
That sounds like good logic to me.
Same thing for 14. They basically, they asked me for the last 3 years of events. And some of these like we no longer do. So I changed it up and give them stuff that like we've done last year and continuing to do. SB Night Out, Park Hop, Rec on the Go, movies, 5Ks, dinners. I have about 20 different things on there.
Does it, so those are sort of grounded in what is, which is great.
Mhm.
Does it make sense to have a question that is more open-ended to say, what sort of programming or events not currently offered would you like to see?
Yeah, so the bottom, I don't know if it should be a separate question. So
Yeah,
like
I see
double-
it B.
Yeah, double A on there, or B in the other one.
Yeah.
Are there new programs
Q, A, B,
that you would
C.
like? I don't know, it should probably be split into a separate question, because it kind of gets hidden,
Oh, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
But
Yeah,
I'd lean as a separate question.
Yeah.
because it gets like lost.
Yeah.
And off of, hey, you have
Yeah,
20
I
something.
totally
right?
lost it.
What events not currently offered would you like to see?
You do not attend, too expensive, not enough time. Not interested.
Yeah.
And then overall, meeting the needs. And then it's broken out, how is it meeting the needs based off of like general, and then broken out by different subsets, toddlers, youth, teens, adults, seniors, and families.
Works for me.
17.
I have a question on 17.
Uh-oh.
So do you feel there is a need to, is this question specifically wanting to ask, is it a preservation question or is it an acquisition question?
Mhm.
You feel there is a need to, should it be preserved or should it be acquired, or are those two separate questions? Because I just wrote acquire here as opposed to
Well,
preserve.
It says preserve additional.
Or what about acquire additional open space?
that
Has that question been asked before? Yeah, in the survey. And I forgot where it was.
No,
No.
was it? I didn't think it was.
But what I'm focused on here is, are you asking somebody a question and you saying, should we preserve?
Mhm.
As opposed to acquire? Because we do need to acquire. Like, we've got more land than we need, sort of, but we do have an area, particularly in the Route 7 corridor, where we don't have the amenities that the community wants. So we know we need to acquire something more than we've got. But we've got a lot of stuff that, this could be two separate questions, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
preservation
Yeah, I
and
agree.
it's acquisition.
Yep.
Separate the two.
Yeah, I'm also thinking it should be connected to the baseline too, because in the city plan, it says we're gonna preserve 50%.
51, we're already
51.
there.
Yeah, so I think there should be if I were to ask this to someone off the street, they would be like, yeah, sure, but I
Yeah.
think there has to be some sort of
Put it in
connection to that
context.
context, that connection to what's already been pledged, just to give a better baseline,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, would you
Yeah.
have to be so specific and say that we've already acquired 51% and we've met our goal, but
Yeah.
do you want to acquire more?
More.
I mean, wouldn't that then also like be leading the answer?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah,
like if you're giving them all this info,
then you
you're not
just,
really getting their
yeah.
opinion.
But this is not, also, I do agree that preservation, most people would say yes to preservation. Because
Which-
it's just a thing that we all are really conditioned
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
yes to that.
But I think like part of this too is this is just a survey that we're getting info and then like the consultants. Like just because people say we don't, then you're still using the city plan, building the master plan. So if people are saying, hey, it could be 99% of the people who are saying we need to preserve, but then you're looking at the city plan and where we're at. Like,
Okay,
it's just, yeah, I think,
okay.
no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's why I'm like, okay.
Well, it depends on the reasoning for that
Mhm.
and whether or not it is because they want to acquire more. I think we do need to be careful with that question myself.
It's interesting because 18 starts to get also into, I think it got cut off to see TI, I'm assuming that's additional,
Yeah,
Um,
additional.
conserved without explanation of,
So those two are kind of married, but there should, the same, do you want to, should we acquire more? If so, where? Do you want to conserve more? If so, where? I mean, so for each one, whether it's acquisition or conservation, I think there's, if you answer yes, where?
Mhm.
Kind of a, that
Yeah.
goes along with it.
there's part of me that
Wait, say
feels-
that again?
Well, so it does seem like if I read this again, 18, it was intentional. And so I guess it
It's
was
based off of
intentional.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were asking initially, do we need to preserve?
And then, yeah, then it's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should be also asking, because it's a different question,
Mhm.
do we want to acquire?
Acquire. If so, where?
And if so,
Like do the same thing.
yeah, I think so.
But I think, and then this is getting into splitting hairs, that preserve and conserve are two different words. And, you know, we can acquire and preserve a lot of open space. Putting a conservation easement on more open space is it becomes a different proposition. And so like, just trying to
Mhm.
think, should there be more of a definition about preserve and conserve, so that people know what they're answering? Because there's like, oh, yeah, I mean, without.
Well, definitions was one of the things on that list of questions
Mhm,
that Alster
mhm.
had submitted. So definitions, I think, will play a role.
But you're saying like in the question.
In the question,
Explain
so it's, so
the difference.
here, this is part, if I put on the hat, I'm in the NRCC. Oh, yeah. What areas would you like to see conserved? Oh, well, sure. Hubbard, I'd like to see that conserved. And I'm thinking I'm answering preserved.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to see that built up with houses.
Yeah.
Like there, again, there's a difference between preserve and conserve and trying to make sure that people are, and maybe there's asking, you know.
Yeah.
Clarity about,
Reserve, preserve, conserve. Wonder what the subtle difference. Let's go to Webster.
One thing that Brian Doyle said that does make me, that I remember he said that the resources are very much wanting to, when they take this land, they don't want it to be used for recs and parks necessarily. I think that needs to be part of the question as well, as do you want some flexibility when we take the open spaces or we take we acquire the land? Do you want some flexibility that it won't be forever not used for the public? And I don't know how you word that because that would be misleading, just what I just said there. It would definitely be leading the question. But that did kind of stick to me, when he mentioned that, that there isn't an either or in the equation. It's not like if you have an open space and you never use it for recs and parks.
I think 21 tries to capture that. Yeah, and I think maybe getting a prioritization that way could help too. Just so that way we get a clearer sense of the trail opportunities or passive rec or active rec is more important or less important in terms of considering conservation. So
I have a question, Adam. So we've got a big section of questions that are really fall, they're on the natural area, open space, and RCC side of the fence, as opposed to the parks and programming. We're not going to cover all these obviously tonight, unless you zoom right through, but there's a lot of conversation, I'm sure, that we and others who are not in the room would have regarding this open space agenda and conservation. So how do you want to address the second half of this? Probably sit here another hour.
I would like to.
Want
Yeah,
to? Okay.
you have a deadline?
as far as like right now.
No, as in like in the survey, are you trying to put this out? Like
Well, we're
within
trying to
next-
talk about it tomorrow. so I'd
Oh.
like as much
Okay,
input as
I'm willing to
Okay.
run. I thought maybe that.
Yeah.
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 The 19, are you satisfied with city managed gardens, planted areas?
We need more, so
If-
okay,
yeah.
the answer's probably no.
Yeah.
We need more invasive species, more attention to invasive species.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same. Yeah, 19 or both of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
19 and 20.
Number of community garden plots, I mean, that's gonna be a no.
Yeah.
And this kind of hits on what you were talking, Cindy, with kind of where how we're acquiring and what it's used for. You have any other bullet points to add into it?
Well, I say on 21, the first part of that sentence could also read, please rank what criteria for acquiring active recreational land. So is there a matrix for active recreational as opposed to natural areas / open space?
I mean, when 6 kind of,
It may be.
and that, like, we're just listing out all of the kind of,
Matrix table.
yeah,
Well, these are the uses, but does it deal with where?
Does 22 kind of get into some of what you're talking about? Could you add something about city acquisition of parkland or something like that?
Yeah, it's been going through my mind
Yeah.
that when it comes to acquisition, there ought to be a matrix and what's it gonna cost? Who's it gonna serve? Do we have enough of this already? Da, 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 da. And I don't think that we've got a clearly understood matrix right now. When it comes to that, most of these decisions have been political. They've been driven by, oh, we gotta stop a housing development here, so let's write a check. So it's an oversimplification, but that has been the motive in a few cases. So,
Which I don't understand. If you want to be green, you want a dense population all in one area and not sprawled out. So it just doesn't even make sense to me.
yep, I agree.
the, on point, the is there something? Or how do you want it?
Well, where would, I had just written down active recreational.
Well, so there is.
There's opportunities for
yeah.
active recreation.
opportunities for active recreation,
Active,
Okay.
passive.
And then opportunities for.
Okay, so that's a matrix for all of these things.
So, there's two for passive. There's
Okay.
passive rec and then there's trail opportunities.
Yep.
Yep. I think that covers. I just looked at that first sentence.
Should 22 be what actions do you favor to preserve parks, natural areas, open spaces? Because it's getting into,
Yeah, let's get parks in there.
a wide range.
Yeah, even on 21, right, put parks in there as well, because the majority of what they have in that is parks.
These trails, how many of the next questions are devoted to the trails?
Got a handful of them.
So it says here, if no, do not show any following questions, but if yes, then,
If,
okay.
so do you use the trails, and then from there, how often do you use them? What do you like? Or,
Yeah, there's good qualitative stuff in there.
how do you get there?
If I step back for a second, though, some of the way that the questions flow, and if you can set it up so it's adaptive, like this will show you additional questions, like on the get into the rec programming and events. We don't ask how frequently people, we like check all that apply. You know, we can say like what percentage of respondents have used it, you know, like trying to get in the frequency questions could be interesting. Do you use, do you participate in South Burlington recreation events and programming, yes or no? If it's no, then they don't have to click what they participated.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, that's for further, the earlier number, right?
yeah, that's,
Yeah,
and then how often do you participate in events in South Burlington, or events or programming? You know, you have the 27, the same. But there's, and this is, I guess I will say, as I looked at this, it feels uneven in terms of how it's structured. Like there's a different level of attentiveness on the passive recreation than the active recreation side.
I would agree.
yeah, this is a good formula right here for earlier on. I
Mhm.
agree, this is
Yeah.
a good formula to use for the others.
Just 24 horseback riding on trails.
Can,
I don't know. I've
I
never,
don't think we have any horse trails that are publicly owned.
yeah.
but people could ride their horses in the same way they take their dogs off. the
That
leash.
is true. I've never seen one running around.
Yeah.
so.
Not even from the UVM are in there on this. Spears Street.
Yeah.
I never see them going beyond their fenced in area.
What question we on right now?
25.
Where do we want to go?
25.
Yeah, 25.
I like that one.
Mhm.
How do you get there?
Yeah.
what prevents you from walking a bike in there? How do you spend, how much time do you spend there? How many people? You bring your dogs.
Do you clean up after?
you clean up after your dogs.
Can I just, I have to rant, this is a pet peeve of mine. There are a shitload of people that pick up after their dog and then leave the bag on the side of the trail. And I have no freaking clue why. Like, if you're gonna pick up the poop in a bag,
Yeah.
carry it home.
I
Yeah,
have to say, sometimes, okay, when I'm walking my dog and I'm carrying the bag, sometimes I haven't noticed it falls out of my hand.
Yeah.
So
Well, then-
sometimes I don't know if some of those
That's
are
fair.
left
That's right.
because they fell out of the hand. I don't. do
Those are
that very often.
biodegradable bags though, so if they're left there.
But I
The stuff
agree,
is
if
just.
it's
Yeah.
just left there.
It'll be fun.
Um,
33.
Three. I want you to agree with
Select
that.
how much you agree with the following statements. So it says, how much do you agree? A little, a lot? Not? Where's the,
It's
Completely.
yeah.
completely agree.
Neutral, Somewhat
Completely agree.
disagree or.
okay, all right. So
Yeah,
is there gonna be
makes
some
sense.
kind of like a little, you know, like a form where you're checking? Just 3 columns, agree, or,
Mhm.
okay.
What amenities?
So I'd like to have more opportunities to do volunteer trail work. City managed trail.
I do have one thing, I'm not sure it's in here, but I've been thinking about that, is do you walk to work? Or do you bike to work? Because a lot of this is all talking about the recreational experience, but it would be nice to know how many are using the resources to get to work as well, or even to school.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe under 24, commuting.
Mhm.
It's something. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
24, just to add in.
What policies should be encouraged people to clean up?
Tickets.
Where would you like to see additional trail connectivity?
Well, we can put that in the hands of the Bike and Ped Committee.
Yeah,
They can answer that.
and that'll also connect with the active transportation.
This is the, going back into there was a question where we talked about what areas do we need more parks? So they've had heat maps listed under a number of these things. Wouldn't it make sense if we had if they're building in heat maps, couldn't we do a heat map where people are saying what areas where you like to see more parks, and they can
Mhm.
click on, click on this neighborhood or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead
Sounds
of writing
reasonable.
Route 7 corridor.
Mhm,
And even maybe more recreational activity available.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a lot to send back to.
No, but some of it, I mean, it's feedback.
Yeah, it's
Like-
good.
Like some
good.
of that.
Okay, communication. I have a general thought though. Again, it's been mentioned already. This is a long survey. So if the motive for doing a survey is to try to get a lot of feedback, a long survey is kind of a disincentive to do that.
Yes.
So I wonder if there's a shorter and a longer version, or how you just address that, because I know a lot of people, 40 questions, are you kidding me? Sorry. You know, so, anyway, that's just feedback. This is a long survey. It's going to take a while for somebody to fill it out.
Yeah, but that's also, I mean, we're doing 2 master plans in one, which,
Yeah.
because we were talking about doing 2 separate surveys. We're doing like an A survey and a B survey and having one shorter, one not, but then, okay, Will gets one and it skips questions that he's interested in. Brett gets one, it skips
Yeah, how,
questions that he's interested in.
I get that, but I just
Yeah,
wonder
yeah,
how
yeah.
many.
But at the same time, I mean, some of these questions, if you say no, it's gonna skip
Mhm.
a few of them. I mean, like the trails.
Yeah.
I don't use the trails and it skips 8 questions.
So grouping it, maybe making it clear, you can
Mhm.
skip some if you want to.
Yeah, he also did say that in there. It's not something where any of these questions are gonna be, you have to answer them. So people are able to like skip through or not answer questions. It's not something where you have to put something in and then anyone's just gonna like check away as they go.
And if it's online, you, like when I've gotten surveys before, it says, you don't see, oh shit, this is 48 questions.
Mhm.
You say like,
Yeah.
this takes
Next.
15 minutes. This should take about 15
15 minutes to
minutes.
complete.
I mean, the other
Yeah.
part of it, you probably, I mean, this isn't like a survey that, I mean, let's be 100% honest. Like the average person isn't gonna do this survey. Like you're gonna do this survey if you're interested in this
Yeah.
survey.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
the average South Burlington
committed.
resident who sees it on Front Porch Forum is not gonna click on it.
Yeah.
To do it. They're gonna want to do it. So hopefully that kind of helps a little bit too.
Can we give an incentive? I mean, I don't know if that's legal to give an incentive, but the giving beer to like a certain group, but like a raffle of some sort? Could we do something where we actually give an incentive to complete it?
They'd
Can
have
we?
to include their name, but they may want anonymity.
Oh, but if they don't,
They want to remain anonymous.
Yeah.
I mean.
Do you want to enter in the raffle to get a free keg?
Or I don't know, what could we give them? We could give them 100 or something, we could give them some money.
Okay, moving on. We're in the communication section now.
37.
It's funny they put parks here, but parks was not visible in the other things.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll mention that tomorrow, but like it wasn't mentioned because that was the natural areas and open spaces.
But one of the areas touched specifically allotted out parks, connectivity to the larger parks, open space system, opportunities for active recreation. All of that's parks related.
The other, I would also add a question about recreation programming.
In which.
37. It's easy to find and understand information about South Burlington's recreation events and programming. Different from parks, open spaces, all the other sorts of things, like what does this?
Like it, on 37 is D, what you're looking for?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Apologies.
I make the same mistake.
Just because it doesn't say like camps and specific
Yeah, I don't know.
events.
I might,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you gotta read to the bottom.
How do you prefer to receive info?
About you.
Where do you live? Gender.
There's, again, I think there's something about the way 38 is structured that feels like it is trail forward. you know, from a city trail park manager website, from a trail finder, all trail, you know, like the.
Yeah.
they're-
Mhm.
And I don't know what the,
I find our website super helpful.
Yeah.
Just with like trail maps and stuff like that.
Maybe B could be reframed to be like a, like sports specific database. So like not just Trail Finder, but also that pickleball scheduler
yeah,
could
Yeah.
be included in it as an example.
yeah, that's a good,
I guess, yeah.
Or like,
Leave me hanging.
no, I'm just rereading the question. I'm good.
Categories apply to your household, single, couple, etc. When were you born? How many people live in your household?
On 42, are they wanting to categorize the respondents into age groups? Is that why they're asking that
Yeah,
question?
that's what I'm anticipating.
So then there'll probably be a little matrix where you check off as opposed to just a specific year.
I would probably have a series of age bands rather than
Yeah.
a specific.
Mhm.
year.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 25 to 29,
Yeah.
Mhm.
31 to whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. The, what are their ages too for the kids? Maybe another like age band there too.
yeah. I mean, you kind of.
And you got the ethnicity, which is a check your box on most forums.
Did you ask the question? We had mentioned it, first generation. Should we ask how many are first generation in some area? I don't know if that's important, but
Wouldn't want to ask immigration questions.
I was gonna say,
oh, that's
At
true.
this point in
Good
time, I
point,
might not
Good
ask.
Yeah.
point. I'm a first generation, so you know, I'm not.
it's not, a couple years ago, I would say absolutely.
Oh, there's Larry.
And then the housing, stable housing, own rent, stay in a household, what type of stable housing? Do you have any?
Do we have to say stable? Can't we just say what type of housing? Or, I don't know, a stable seems kind of like, what do you mean by stable?
I mean, that would, yeah. that- I
Kind
mean,
of
some of these,
judgmental.
like, I don't
Yeah, it
know
does
why
feel
they word it that way,
judgmental.
So I can't really answer all of these questions.
Though, there's a lot of things about like, have you been living in housing that you own, rent, or staying as part of a household? Well, if I've been couch surfing at my friends for the past 2 months,
Mhm.
I'd say I'm staying as part of a household, but it doesn't, it's not
It's not
stable.
stable. Yeah.
And you're not filling out this survey.
Mhm,
Yeah,
no,
you
you're
know.
not. Yeah, I would stop right there. I would be offended.
And the final comments, are we ready to go to final comments?
$49 should out of math get a raise.
Yeah. Maybe for the housing, you maybe just keep 47 and then nix 45 and 46.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think, I mean, the wording, but I think it is kind of nice to know if you're owning or renting.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you
Or at
put
least like
that,
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
can you put that in 47? Still, like, own rent?
Well,
47 is only yes above.
Mm-hmm.
Like do another matrix, do you own or rent, and then do a, what
Yeah, I
is
mean,
it?
it's kind of 40, like 46, to
Hmm.
an extent, just rewording it. You know, what type of housing? Are you a renter?
Mhm.
Whether, I don't know.
Do you have any mobile homes in South Burlington? Must have a few, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's a-
I bet you there's a couple on the southeast corner.
Is there like a mobile place? Back behind where you're going out?
Yes, there is.
Is
Is
that South
that,
Burlington or Shelburne?
I'm wondering.
I think it's Shelburne.
That's Shelburne.
Shelburne.
That's
Yeah.
Shelburne.
Is that the new car wash?
That's a great
Mhm.
little mobile home park, and that's a wonderful space.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
neighborhood. That's
Yeah.
really nice, with the water right at the end. Yeah, it's really nice.
This might be a loaded question, but is it worth asking, how long have you resided in South Burlington? I mean, whether it's,
I think that's a
That's a fair question. Yeah.
fair question.
Mhm. That's a good one.
but we don't want to create the perception that some answers are more valid than others.
Mm.
Okay, so that took a long time, but now we're gonna go through the calendar, right? March calendar.
No, we can just look at it at home.
Okay, hey, team, great job. Adam, thank you.
No, they left a while ago.
Yeah, they didn't want any part of the survey.
Yeah, they
Too
left.
long.
You know. You gotta like finish it.
Should I make
Okay,
that motion?
Motion to adjourn,
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
No, I want to stay longer.
Well, you've come extra early on.